Have you ever walked away from a conversation and wondered why it just didn't click? Or maybe someone seemed to pull away from you and you couldn't understand why. Sometimes it's not about who you are, but about small, almost invisible behaviors that push people away without you even realizing it. Today I'm going to share 5 behaviors that make people dislike you instantly, and most importantly, how to change them so your presence naturally draws people in instead of pushing them away. Let's dive in. The first habit is something most of us do, even unintentionally: talking too much about ourselves. Let me tell you a quick story. A friend of mine, let's call her Sarah, went on a coffee date with someone new. For the entire hour, her companion barely asked a single question. Everything was about their work, their achievements, and their weekend plans. By the end of the date, Sarah felt drained, disconnected, and honestly, a bit annoyed. She didn't dislike the person as a whole, but their behavior made her pull away. The problem isn't sharing about yourself. It's when the conversation becomes one sided. When people feel unheard, they subconsciously distance themselves. Practice what I call conversational generosity. Ask thoughtful questions, listen actively, and create space for others to shine. You'd be surprised how much more people warm up to you when they feel seen. The second behavior is something I see almost everywhere: checking your phone too much during conversations. Picture this: you're talking to someone, sharing a story, and halfway through they glance at their notifications, scroll, or even respond to a message. How does that feel? Ignored, right? I remember being at a networking event, excited to connect with a fellow teacher, but every time I started sharing, they'd glance at their phone. It felt like my words were invisible. It wasn't personal, but it created a barrier between us. Put your cell phone aside. Be fully present. Even small moments of undivided attention communicate respect, and people will naturally gravitate toward your presence. The third behavior is negative energy: complaining, criticizing, or just generally venting too much. Negativity is contagious. If someone constantly focuses on problems, complaints, or judgment, others may unconsciously mirror that energy. Instead of feeling connected, they feel drained. I once had a colleague who loved pointing out everything that was wrong in the workplace. At first, I tried to empathize, but over time, conversations felt heavy, and I began avoiding them. Not because they were a bad person, but because the energy was exhausting. Balance honesty with hope. It's okay to share struggles, but also offer solutions, reflections, or moments of gratitude. People are drawn to those who bring insight and light, not just weight and complaints. The fourth habit is a tricky one: not respecting boundaries. This can show up in oversharing too soon, pushing for answers, and not reading social cues. I remember meeting someone new who immediately dove into personal topics I wasn't ready to discuss. It felt invasive. Even though they were friendly, I instinctively created distance. Build trust slowly. Pay attention to comfort levels, body language, and tone. Sometimes saying less and observing more strengthens connections more than oversharing ever could. And finally, the fifth behavior: pretending to be someone you're not. People feel authenticity, even if they can't explain it. When we try too hard to impress, mimic, or hide aspects of ourselves, others sense the incongruence. It creates subtle discomfort, and over time, that discomfort can grow into dislike. I once attended a social gathering where someone spent the evening exaggerating their experiences and opinions. On the surface, they seemed confident, but the group quickly picked up on the act, and conversations felt shallow. Show up as yourself. Flaws, quirks, and all. Authenticity builds trust, connection, and belonging in a way that pretending never can. So, to recap, the 5 behaviors that can push people away are: 1. Talking too much about yourself. 2. constantly checking your phone. 3. Negative energy. 4. Not respecting boundaries. And 5. Lack of authenticity. The empowering part? Well, each of these behaviors is changeable. It's not about being perfect. It's about awareness, presence, and conscious effort. When you show up with attention, respect, positivity, and authenticity, people don't just tolerate you, they enjoy being around you. If this episode resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on one habit you might want to shift. Start small. Even one change can transform how people experience your presence. Don't forget to subscribe to the Light of Joy podcast for more reflections on relationships, personal growth, and inner peace. And if you found this helpful, share it with someone who might benefit too. You might just make their day a little lighter. Thank you for being here, and remember, connection begins with awareness, and the smallest shifts can make the biggest difference.